Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Mike Vassallo from What's the Rate? We have a new episode here with my friend Sal Catalano from Signature Premier Properties. Sal, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Blistering day.
It is brutal out here. It's nice and cool in here, so I'm very happy to be here.
I appreciate you taking the time, and I always like to ask the first question of how you got into the industry. Short form. I know you said it's a little discombobulated and stuff, but give us a little background of the short version of how real estate became a part of your life.
Sure. So I guess I'll go back a little bit. Immediately before this, I was in logistics. But before that, I was in retail for a long time. So I was a sales manager in retail. Then I was an operations manager in retail. I really liked I like both aspects of it. I was really good at, the sales manager position. I really like that. But when you want to move up and stuff like that, you have to branch out into operations and stuff. Okay. So I went over to that way, I had a passion for it, and then when I had the opportunity to switch over still within the retailer to the distribution side, they opened up a distribution center. Okay. I went over to the logistics, thought, you know what, let me try this. I've been doing this retail, and get out of the store, out of the public, all that. Okay. Unfortunately, I actually hated it. I hated logistics. It was a good job, but the hours were brutal and stuff, which wasn't so bad when I was younger, but I was doing that, and then a couple things happened. So COVID hit, sure. Which, now I'm at a job where I really didn't like it in general, and it's just like everything's just amplified.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I had a baby. We had our first baby in 2020, right in the heart of COVID. Okay. So I used as much maternity leave as I could. But then when I went back, it was, all right, now I'm here till like 11 o'clock at night. I have a newborn at home. Yeah. I'm doing all this stuff. And it's not a job I'm passionate about. Right. So I started to
didn't love it. Yeah.
Right. So like why am I away from my family to be doing that? Okay. So I started to look into other stuff, and I knew a couple people that were doing real estate. I thought my sales background would be really good going into real estate.
I was going to say, the retail is a customer service based job, so which
right. So I thought that was kind of natural. Okay. So I talked to a couple people I knew that were doing real estate, and they said it was something I might want to look into, especially back in 2020.
Yeah.
So I looked into that. I liked it, took the test, and slowly kind of the rest is history. Yeah. Okay. Switched over. I did work part time and stuff the first year or two. Okay. To get everything going. But long story short, that's essentially why I got into it. Okay. One thing I do think that is interesting, like I said, so I thought my sales background, everything like that. I think that would be, really help me out in real estate. Okay. And it is, don't get me wrong. But where I find more is the operations side of being an operations manager, which people kind of...
From an organization?
Yeah, from an organization. And as an operations manager, you're dealing with, the sales departments, the cashiers, the inventory department, the merchandise. So you're doing with all these moving parts and everything, which really does remind me of a real estate transaction.
For sure, yeah.
A lot of times where you're dealing with, all those moving parts. The
home inspector, attorney, lender,
everybody.
Yeah.
So I think those two really helped going in.
All right.
So that's it. That's what I'm
going back to the retail. It was a similar situation. My wife was in retail as a merchandise manager, and you said it was like 11 o'clock, at night. It was just, we had a baby. It was just not, it just didn't make sense at the time. And she pivoted as well, kind of at that same time. It was just, it was a lot, especially with having babies and everything. So, I wanted, you're the first guest that I've had on the podcast that actually has started their own podcast. And
coming on real estate with Sal Catalano.
Check it out, follow it, subscribe, all that. And I find it kind of cool because it's like I was nervous when I started this, not knowing where I was going, what I was doing. I'm still figuring it out. We were talking about it before we came on, what made you want to go down that avenue of doing the podcast and everything. What kind of intrigued you, in terms of starting this and creating this content to be able to give to your clients, prospective, buyers, sellers that you might be working with, in the future?
Well, I think it was a kind of a natural progression because I've been doing a lot of things for a long time. I was doing, market minute updates on my Instagram, TikTok, stuff like that. I try and be a local just resource in general. I do post a lot of what's going on, things to do this weekend, things around Long Island, not just real estate stuff. So I wanted to kind of also add an aspect where I could really, dive into real estate. Mm-hmm. And what I try and do on my podcast too is I mean, I give you the numbers, but I try and dive in and, why, what does this mean? Why is this, what does this number have to do with this? Why, what is the month of inventory?
Break
Why
it down
right.
for someone to really understand what they're looking at. Okay.
And my mentality, and so I wanted to do that to get that out there, and I thought it'd be good. But on the same note, I kind of, when I do those market updates and things like that, in my mentality, if nobody watches the video, at least I just went through all that market data and I know it.
You educated yourself, right? So if the question comes up,
so if nobody else watches it, I know what the market data is that month, and I can speak to it, and I know what it is, and conduct my business towards the market.
Gotcha. I find it too, like with me, and I guess anyone doing a podcast, I think it really creates an identity with your viewers and your people that are looking at you, because they don't know Sal or they don't know Mike. Now, like, other than seeing just random posts of maybe your family or a closing or a listing that you got, like really putting yourself out there, and being raw, people creates an identity that you're like a real person. Right. Who is Sal? Who is Mike? What are they talking about and stuff? And the feedback that I've gotten thus far, like, people are like, wow, it's cool. Like, I watch it. Like you said, like I watch, and like that made me feel great, because I'm like, I'm doing this and I don't know, like, what is the feedback? Am I not doing the right thing? Could I be doing things differently? So I think it's a learning curve.
Because it is. You just send it out there into the void.
Yeah.
So it is definitely nice, especially hearing that in person, because the feedback online isn't always the best.
No. And a lot of people, like I said, they don't even say anything, but it's, everyone has a podcast. And that's what says, I got to create a podcast. And I think for me, it wasn't really the fact of wanting to, I don't want to become an influencer. I know my kids would love to be YouTubers and, just whatever and just create content and stuff. But it also, for me, like, it was also an opportunity to create relationships, and be able to give some sort of value to people in my industry, to be like, not only obviously am I able to service your clients, but like, am able to create content, and we can talk about what you see, or, what do you think the future holds and everything like that. So that's kind of the main reason, that I thought the podcast was a good, platform.
I just felt like everything was just like a natural, like you said, like I didn't get into it and start a podcast. It was like, all right, what is, what are the natural progressions? And it just, how you can be a resource.
Now, I know we said this off air in terms of like the market and everything, that, obviously not much has changed month over month, even year over year and everything like that. But as we now go into the summer, nothing really has changed. No. I mean, we're kind of just hitting repeat on the conversation that we probably had 6 months ago or even a year ago, right? Yeah.
So, I mean, I talked about the organic, why I kind of dive into the numbers so much in my podcast is because the surface, the top line numbers are staying the same. So what is going on under the surface? Because I got tired of legitimately just coming on every month or every. All right, guys. So Nassau is just around a 3. Nassau and Suffolk are both around a 3-month supply of inventory, which is right where we are now. Nassau's at a 3.1. Suffolk's at a 3.4. Yeah. Both of those, though, are down from last month, down year over year. Really? Where if you hear. If you turn on the news and you listen to real estate headlines, and it just kind of shows how Long Island's its own kind of beast, is, you hear things switching to buyers markets and something.
Not here. Yeah, no.
Inventory.
I wish.
Send that inventory here, because it's, it's just been month in, month out for years at this point.
Yeah. I mean, the rate's not, I don't want to even say they came down a little bit. I mean, I'll say that now, and then by the time we get this out, it will be right back up. So, I mean, there really has been, it's just been consistent of nothing's changed. It's been the same old. Yeah. So, I mean, there's really nothing to report on that front, which is frustrating. I have buyers up the yin-yang that are approved, that are going out every weekend, that have become frustrated, that are no longer now looking, putting offers in. I have a colleague of mine, a client, put an offer in $135,000 over ask, waived the appraisal, waived the mortgage contingency, and they were still the third or fourth best offer.
What are you supposed to do?
I don't know. That's what I said. Like, what do you go back, like, as an agent to your client, what are you supposed to go back and say? Like, I wouldn't even know.
It's tough. I mean, those conversations are
crazy.
Tough. But I think, so there's opportunity in everything, right? So there is a good thing about it being the same over and over again, month in, year in, year out, and that for the last,
True. I never thought. Yeah.
Because now we know what to expect. We know what to happen. We know we've been doing this.
Yes.
So we have the opportunity to prepare our clients. Like, listen, that's going to happen. And now, even if they're prepared for it, and you brace them that they're going to lose out big sometimes, maybe on the way to getting their dream house, it's still going to hurt and everything, but maybe it'll hurt a little bit less because they knew that was coming.
Yes.
And I think, and this has helped me win in this market a couple times. Even with lower offers than not necessarily the highest offer on the table, is you have the opportunity. You're with these guys for a long time looking for the houses. They should, when you find it, they should be prepared. They should know their inspector. They should they should have long been pre-approval. Should have their pre-approval. Like I've had inspections done within 3 hours of getting an accepted offer because my clients were ready to go, and that's
you have to kind of have that. Yeah, it's been a huge. Yeah, it's been very difficult, and you're up against a lot of cash. A lot of cash out there. You can't compete with that. But that's interesting to say that like that's the norm. Like saying like, oh, the rate's going to go down in 6 months. I'm going to wait and stuff. That has for 3 years we've been at the same thing. Right. You know, like I said, I thank God I have a good amount of purchase business to be able to, you know, obviously keep myself in this industry. But if you're a person that relied on refi business, there hasn't been a refi. I think I had like maybe 2 refis, and they were both divorce situations that required, you know, just a buyout or whatever, and the rate was irrelevant to them. But I mean, that business is just not there. And I mean, the talks are, and I don't even want to talk about it. They're like, oh, they're going to, you know, cut it twice before the end of the year. We heard this a million times, and I've said it on here. I'm like, yeah, that's great. I'm not holding my breath. Right. So I just think right now it's like it is what it is. You know, it's just there's no sight and there's nothing changing in the near future. Right. So if you are coming on as a new buyer right now, this is it. The rates are the rates. You listen to your agent when you're looking at a $500,000 price point or $600,000 price point. You're not going to get it for $625. You're going to probably have to go to $650, $675 to even be in conversation to get that house. So
and again, that's just. It's tough, but it's setting those expectations, and as long as they know that, and they know, you know, why you're sending. If my budget's $500, why do you keep sending me stuff that's $450? Right. Well, because that's what you're going to need to, you know, or depending, you know, whatever the price point might be. Yeah. And there's also sellers are in the driver's seat big time right now. You know, it's a big time sellers market. We just talked about it. It hasn't changed, but because it's not just. Because things are nationally, I guess, and because of just the mentality that's out there, if you don't go on the market correctly as a seller, you're going to sit, and that's where the opportunity for buyers are going to be. If you think you can overprice, if you get greedy, you don't market it right, promote it, that's when you're going to sit, and that's when, you know, that's where the buyers
to take advantage and stuff. Yeah, that's what I see. I see a lot of houses that are grossly overpriced. Sometimes they get the number, and you're like, wow, I can't believe that. And then other times you'll see them sit 2, 3, and like I feel like I don't know what the average. You would know better than me, but the average time of a house on the market. I mean, I feel like within a week, 2 weeks, that house is gone. If it's priced correctly and everything, it's gone immediately.
Yeah, both counties are just under 30 days, but that's, you know how it is. That's not. I feel like that number is a little bit of a lagging indicator.
I was going to say, that seems like a long time based off of what I see. I mean,
because once you get the accepted offer, sometimes it takes a little bit.
Contracts, all that stuff. 2 weeks.
You know, if you were on the market for a week, then now all of a sudden it's 28 days.
But a verbally accepted offer, I mean, what, 3 days, 4 days? I mean, it has by the time everything else falls into place, which is just wild. Yep. You know, it's just wild. So, so that's what we're seeing. I was going to say, like, nothing has changed. That's status quo there. Do you have, with going back to like the online stuff and the marketing and everything like that, do you have anything that you're looking to, we're halfway into the year. So I always said, like, looking back from January to June, I always kind of like, this is like not an aha moment for me, but I kind of say like, well, did I do anything that I said I was going to do? What did I not do that I said I was going to do? And I always put like these goals together at the beginning of the year, which I think we all do, vision board, whatever it may be. Some of them I've done. A lot of them I haven't, you know what I mean? And this is like that time where I'm like, all right, it's the summer. Let's get back into the groove and try to obtain or try to do some of these last things with the last 6 months coming. So I don't know if looking back where you are now, 6 months into the year.
I think I'm in a little bit kind of the same as you. Haven't hit, all the goals that I would have liked to. But I really feel like, especially like we just started what is essentially the crunch time for the year. Yes. You know, you're past 4th of July.
Yes, the holiday's over, right? Yeah.
Over. Yep. Now it's, can we get in before school?
Yes.
Can we get in before holiday?
Yes.
And then it's the year.
Yeah. So it definitely is. My wife always says that after 4th of July, she always says the summer's over. Yeah. That's like always, which is crazy because my kids are like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Have you been in like a Target?
No.
So Target, I was in there a couple days ago, before
Halloween
4th of July. No, not Halloween.
Okay.
Not Halloween, not that bad.
That wouldn't surprise me.
But it is full on back to school. I'm not even exaggerating. Their entire seasonal section, all the garden stuff is gone, clearance, and it is back to school. And Target, I went there the other, Staples, the same thing.
I can't. It goes by. It's crazy. And then when you're our kids' age, it felt like the summer took forever. And now it's just like, that's crazy. I mean, the doors haven't even closed at the school yet, and it's like ready to go right back into it.
Back in the day, a long, long time ago, I worked at Staples when I was like a kid, and I remember like it was like mid-August they would start like putting that stuff.
That would going back to retail. I remember I'd go see my wife when she worked at Bloomingdale's back in the day, and it was like Christmas music. You know, I don't want to say like right around like Thanksgiving time or even before that. I'm like, what the hell's going on in here? I'm like, it's too early. You can't play Christmas music or holiday music in before December and stuff. Yeah. But going back to the the last 6 months now of the year and stuff, it goes back to what you were saying, being organized and using that stuff. And I kind of found myself after this 4th of July, especially yesterday, kind of like, all right, we got 6 more months. Let's go. Let's get organized again. Because everyone, I feel like you get that moment where you get complacent, like, and you just kind of get comfortable and you kind of let things not go by the wayside, but you're just not in it like you were.
Right. And sometimes you got to do that for a little bit. Like, what's the
100%.
Take a nice break in the summer. Everybody's
well. That's the nice thing about our industries, right? I always said that. Like, everyone's like, "Oh wow, it looks so much fun. You're always out doing this, that, and the other." There are plenty of pros and there are plenty of cons to it. You could work as little as you want, or you can work as much as you want. But at the end of the day, the time you put in, is going to be the result at the end of the year of what you get out. Right. So yeah, it does have the flexibility and all of that stuff, but there's the aspect of it too, where, you could show up 9 to 5 every day, but you're not getting a paycheck on Friday, right. If you're not putting things into contract. Right. So I think it's but work-life balance is huge.
Yeah. I personally, and I mean, I was in that, corporate retail, weird schedules and everything that for a long time. I love like my retail real estate schedule. And that's, I feel like in ways I could say I work literally all day, and I feel like there's ways that I say I can do what I want. Am I answering emails at 8 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, and 8 o'clock at night. You are, yes, absolutely. Correct, yes.
But can I go to the gym in the middle of the day if I need to? Most likely, because showings are later. I do my calls earlier. Yeah. Can I, arrange the showings?
There's a value to that. I mean, I'll be honest with you. There's a value. Yeah. I was going to say, I know you have 2 little ones and stuff, and you're going to see, like, as they start to get older, like the sports, the school function, you won't miss anything. Right. You won't miss a thing. You'll always be at still being able to work. And again, it's like, for me, like, I know when my kids are older, they're going to be like, oh, I remember you always at my games. You're always there. Versus maybe someone who can't have that flexibility. It's priceless. It's priceless, yeah. So it's like, again, I love it. I mean, I pinch myself. I don't want to say I pinch myself every day, but it's a great industry that gives you a lot of opportunity. And at the end of the day, I feel like family is everything. I don't want to be corny, but what are you doing this for, right? Like, it's for your family, right? At the end of the day. So being able to spend that time with them is priceless.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes I hate saying, like, there's a lot of reasons I got into real estate, but one of them is the quote unquote flexible schedule. Yeah. But I feel like that's almost like a dirty word because people use that as like a code word to I don't want to work. Flexible schedule. No, I want to work, but I want to mold it around my life so that I get the best out of both.
There are weeks that you're probably busy as hell and you know what to do yourself and you're stressed out. And then there's a week where you're like, oh, wow, like the phone didn't ring that much this week. And like I said, it's peaks and valleys, the industry. So when it's hot, it's hot. And then when it's not, it's not. And you kind of have to roll with those peaks and valleys. Yeah. And we've seen them over the last, like I said, if you've been in the industry a couple of 3-4 years now, you saw COVID. I mean, look at those rates. I mean, like what that market was now compared to how quick it spiked up and how it just changed almost overnight. So it's, that was the first time since I started that I saw like a down in the market. So every year, this is my 15th year, was always better. And then COVID happened. You're like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then boom. And then they shut the faucet off, and you're like, oh shit, and it was just like, okay. And it's like, that was the first time. And you speak to someone who's been in the industry 20, 30, 40, 50 years, they've seen a few of these. Right. So they're like, it's whatever. I do think that this is longer than any one that anyone has seen. Like, oh, I've seen this. I've been through it. Right. This has been a while now that we've seen this where it hasn't kind of gone back. But again, we're here, right. And if we're able to, you could stick it out and stay with it when it gets crazy again, which it will, we'll be here.
Yeah. I just always try the long-term, long game, play that slow and steady.
That is the way to do it. In terms of what I was going to say, when you're taking on a buyer now, or maybe even just a listing or listing, what is the conversation? Forget what you're saying to the client, but like, what are they saying to you? Are they being unrealistic with like what they're looking for you to do in terms of if it's a buyer that you're working with or a seller that you're working with, or has everyone been somewhat kind of knowing? Like, I feel like you guys have more of a difficult time educating the client, but also having the client listen to what needs to be done in order. Hey, I want to be a buyer. Hey, I want to be a seller. Where with me on the mortgage end, I'm just pre-approving the person and making sure they qualify for what they're looking to obtain, mortgage wise or financing wise. I feel like you guys really more of a Dr. Phil, trying to like give them what is realistic in terms of what they're looking for. So is that like a big onboarding process with either listings or buyers right now? Or?
I would say so. I mean, I feel like it's definitely different from sellers and buyers, obviously, because they're just in different worlds.
Yeah.
So, with buyers, they're honestly most of the time you kind of hit on it. They're scared. They're hearing horror stories of how long it's taking, getting beat out, and all that type of stuff. And that because that is happening.
That's the reality. Yes, no, that's the reality. Yeah, 100%.
So I mean, my whole thing, I don't really like, I it's not just only, but I do a lot of referral, like stuff like that, like from past clients and things like that. So there's a little bit of a natural trust that's kind of built in, which is huge. Which is huge, and that's why we do all this stuff on there to put yourself out there, so that even if they have an idea of what you're all about before you even they even meet you up and stuff. Because that's what they're doing. Yeah. I remember when I first started, my whole goal with social media was to just make it so that if somebody looked me up, I looked like
you came up right. I'm saying you had like a landing page, or you existed. You were a real person. Yeah.
But I don't like taking like I'm not gonna do listen, because it's quick Zillow kind of thing might be different, but like I'm not gonna take somebody out before we, whether it be a call, a Zoom, sit down, have an actual consultation where I explain to them what the market's like, what it is going to be like, brutally honest, but not scaring them, but telling them this is what we're going to be facing out there. But this is how we're going to do it. This is how I've won in the past. And some of the stuff we've already talked about here, making sure that they know how we can be prepared, and all that type of stuff, to get them ready to go. And I think that gives them some kind of reassurance, knowing that they have a plan. But then, listen, like you're going out there week after week, you're not finding stuff, or you're getting beat out.
I think doing that, I think doing that gives your client like, okay, are we ready right now? Because when I pre-approve someone, I don't really get into the real estate aspect of it. Sometimes I'll like say, hey, talk to Sal about that, because I don't want to, they're excited. When you like start to go through the mortgage process and like, you're like, hey, well, before we do anything, you got to speak to Mike. I don't want to be like, hey man, it's nasty out there, and like, this is supposed to be an enjoyable time. I always said like getting married, buying a home and having a kid, I feel like are huge milestones for anyone. And it's like for you to kind of put a damper on that before they even get out the gate sucks, So it's like, I kind of just want to give them like, hey, this is what the options are. I do recommend, hey, if you're looking at 600 or 700, we got to pre-approve you up to 750, 775 in order to be competitive out there. And then kind of kick it back to you. Because then if you're reiterating what I'm kind of saying and putting it just into terms of what's realistic for them to get out there, if they want to really become a homeowner, that's just the reality of what's going to have to happen. But yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean,
and now sellers, honestly, sometimes they're.
I don't deal with them, so I could imagine. I was gonna say, like, I could only imagine, like, you get some people that are listen to you or whatever, and then people that are just totally off the rocker in terms of what they think their house is worth.
Yeah, that's the thing is that a lot of people, and time moves quickly too. So like and especially when you're not in like a macro kind of like you're not living in it all the time. Like so just because. We might say, oh, my the house down the road sold for, X amount 2 years ago. 2 years ago doesn't seem that long ago to that guy because
that's the number he's had in his head forever, right? Yeah.
Well, the market has shifted a little bit. Like it's still a seller's market. You still do really well, but maybe that's not it.
I would imagine like a lot of sellers. Again, it's not something I'm dealing with, but like you're giving them a number of what they should be listing at. They're not then going to go with that person because they don't agree with that number. Then they go with the agent who just gives them the number and says, yeah, let's list it at that number just to get the listing, for it to then never sell, for it to then sell at the number you told them from go. And it's just like, it's got to be tough, I would imagine, dealing with sellers and everything.
I tell them right away, like, I'm never going to try and buy a listing. Like, I'm not going to tell you a number that's unrealistic.
Yeah, just to earn your business. I mean, then what? Yeah, then what are you doing? You're doing open houses and trying to get an offer, and then coming up striking out every weekend. That's not a good look.
Right. Yeah. Obviously that's their home, so that there's wiggle room. It's not like I don't set the necessary price or anything. Yeah. But if you feel like there's just like a disconnect where they're not going, where you're just on different pages, that is one of the good things about real estate is they don't have to pick me, and I don't necessarily
have to pick them. Yeah, it might not be a good match. I mean, with me, it's more of like sometimes it's a personality thing, but a lot of times, and I've come across it lately too, where there's clients that are just number driven. They don't care about anything else. And I always say to them, I'm like, if you're looking at everything, cost, I always think service is a huge aspect of it. Again, if there's a huge disparity in interest rate or fees or whatever, then by all means, I could be the nicest person in the world. I wouldn't want to work with myself either if I was able to save X or whatever. But there's that, depending on the client, you have someone who wants to be educated and they're handheld. And then you have the other person who is strictly not about that just is like numbers. Give me what the numbers are, this, that, the other. So it's like I've come across a bunch of different clients probably just in this last 6 months, ones that need a lot of help, and then others that are just like strictly numbers, don't really care about anything else like that. So whatever. And again, sometimes it's a match, sometimes it's not. One thing I wanted to speak about on this, which is definitely a clip that I'm about to make on this, is that we've had just in this year, in the last 6 months, clients that were in contract who had student loans that were in deferment come out of deferment while in contract, did not know they came out of deferment. Then when we reran credit prior to them closing, they had lates. Now that the student loans weren't paid, credit score dropped to 500.
Oh my God.
And we've had 3 of these within the last couple of months. And it's like I always say, like, how are you not getting literature in the mail or whatever saying that your student loan's coming out of deferment or anything like that? So make sure anyone who's like in the process or in contract or whatever, now we ask, like when we see it, like, when is it coming out of deferment? Because it's insane. Like I've never had it happen, and 3 of my colleagues or whatever had it happen. And it's like now we're rescoring credit to get the scores back up to be mortgageable again. And the clients just didn't know that they were coming out of deferment, which I don't understand. I'm like, how do you not know you had a, $75,000 student loan or whatever that had to start being repaid? But it's happening more than once. So maybe they're not connecting with.
Sometimes it's not an excuse, but I just think like they're paying these things for so long or whatever it is. It just.
Yeah, I guess it's like out of sight, out of mind. I don't understand it, but I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, you're in contract, ready to close. We do a credit compare prior to closing to make sure you haven't established new credit. And then all of a sudden we see like 3 lates on a student loan. It's like pump the brakes. It's like, oh my God. And it's all hands on deck now trying to rectify it. So there's been a lot. That's probably the only thing mortgage wise that I would definitely say it's been crazy. Other than that, it's been pretty standard. Yeah, it's been consistent and stuff. Week to week though. Whoop, sorry. That's my this is my timer. Week to week, it's been different, and I think that's what we're going to see for the remaining couple of months that we have here in this year. And then, like I said, God willing, rates go down. I think that will give a nice little shot of adrenaline to the industry, for buyers, sellers, the mortgage industry. You'll get people and buyers that are on the sideline back into the market because it will be a little bit more affordable, even though I think prices then will go up.
Right.
So I don't know how that I think it will be counterproductive, but we'll see.
Just a mental thing, though. People, rates are lower.
Yeah. And I think also, too, it will allow people to tap into equity. So I have a lot of clients that I've worked with in the last, say, 5-10 years that are sitting on a ton of equity and want to access it. They don't really want to do a home equity line of credit because the rates are high and then it's variable where, like, if they were at 3.5 and the rates went to 5, they probably would refinance, go to a 5% rate to grab $200,000. Right. Where we're not there yet. So to be continued. Yeah. I want to thank you, Sal, for coming on. This was a lot of fun.
It was fun. I appreciate having me.
It was, like I said, first time having a fellow podcaster on, so I look forward to seeing what we both do in the future with this stuff. And make sure to follow Sal on all his social media platforms, his podcast, Instagram.
And Sal Catalano Real Estate _ at Sal Catalano _ Real Estate.
Awesome. And thank you again for the continued support, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you.